Welcome to Women Doing Cool Stuff, a web show and conversation for women finding their path, sharing their voice, and cultivating what's next. Hi there. Today is a really special day. I'm here with Helen Russell, who is the CEO and co-founder of Equator Coffee. Equator is just down the street from the Hivery, and Helen has been a big inspiration to me. As I opened the Hivery, she has been an incredible supporter, and she inspires me every day. So I'm very excited to share that with you. And thank you, Helen, for being here with us.
Thank you, Grace. I'm so delighted to be here at the Hivery. It's my favorite spot.
Yay. I love that. I love that. So someone told me something that Helen said that I wanted to share with you. She said that she was a 21-year overnight success, meaning that she started Equator with her partner and co-founder 21 years ago. And it's been incredible to see what's happened. Mm-hmm. We wanted to chat with you a little bit about, when I thought of that quote, I thought about tenacity and perseverance and what it takes to build a business over 21 years. So I just wanted to open that up to share with women that are watching about what it takes to build a business.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for asking me that great question. You know, we've been in business for 21 years, so I've always wanted to own my own business ever since I was a kid, and I have no reason to, you know, we didn't come from a long line of entrepreneurs. I was the first kid to go to college in my family, and I said to my parents, I said, I want to move to California, start a business. I want to be an entrepreneur. My mother said, what's an entrepreneur? I said, that's someone who has their own destiny in their hands, that makes every decision by themselves. So fast forward, I came out to California, I met Brooke, and we owned 2 coffee bars, and nobody would tell Brooke anything about the coffee in terms of transparency. And I said, let's start our own coffee roasting company. And we started in a little garage. And when you're in your 30s, you know, you're just starting out and you're thinking you can do anything. And I'm so glad that we did that, because it has changed our lives to have this journey of 21 years and then to recently just get this National Small Business of the Year Award, which is remarkable, totally remarkable. We are the first LGBT certified business in the United States in the 63-year history of the Small Business Administration, and that's an Obama cabinet position now, because Obama knows that small business drives the economy. So to stand up on that stage and go to Washington, D.C. and receive that award was so inspiring, because we have been, you know, when you think of the word inspiration, it's about being in spirit. Right. And we have been in spirit since 1995 to create this business and to create these jobs.
So tell me more about that idea, because when I think of you and your business, one of the qualities that I admire the most, and I hope that I can do as well, is to really embody your brand and integrate the personal and professional. And I don't feel like, just knowing you, I don't feel like there's a separate Helen and a separate Equator Coffee, but you've taken all of the qualities that you believe in as a human being and integrated them into your business. Yeah. And I think that's a really powerful thing. I'd love to hear more about that.
You know, it's, 21 years, when you think about why do some businesses do better than other businesses, and I've thought about this for a long time, and Brooke and I have thought about it. It's really why we do it. It's not what we do. Yes, we travel to origin, we buy coffee, we export it, we import it, we roast it. Want to buy some. But what we do is, the why is, we travel to origin, we sit down with the farmer, we negotiate price, we ask them about their family, we bring it in, we roast it, we bring it to our wholesale customers, we bring it to our retail stores, and we tell that story about impact. We tell the story about doing microcredit loans and food security projects and all the things that have moved us by being in coffee. So it's not what we do, it's why we do it. The same reason why you've created the Hivery. It's not you wanted to create a co-working space, you wanted to create this collaborative environment of creativity for people to come, especially women. Women do better when they can hear themselves out loud and they can think about, oh, you're experiencing that. Yes, I'm experiencing that. I mean, I never thought I'd be smart enough to run my own business, but I had the confidence. Right. I always had confidence, right? And to be an entrepreneur, I call it the FIDO principle. You have to be extremely focused. You have to be just fairly intelligent.
Right.
100% driven and 1,000% optimistic, right? And a lot of women are extremely focused And when they come together, that inspiration of being around each other. So being this women-owned business and growing this company and going from 2 women in a garage and cold calling and sending out our product to fast forward, now we have 595 wholesale customers, we have 5 stores, we have 90 employees, we've built this platform.
Right.
And, you know, I've surrounded myself with incredible women and people to help us be successful.
So one of the things that you and I have talked about is the power of community. And I think what's incredible about what you've built at Equator is that the product is beautiful, the coffee is beautiful, the brand is incredible, but you've layered in or created this whole sense of community that I know from where we live has changed our town. But I think it's also changed the way that we look at creating businesses.
Right.
Where it's not just about what you're selling, it's about what you've created for people. So will you talk a little bit about how when you first started the retail side of Equator, did you have any idea that it would be this community?
No, I had no idea. You know, it's a funny story. It's the first fight I've ever had with my director of retail, Deborah Freudiger, who's my millennial that I love and who has equity in the company. I love this kid. So here we are bumping along, and we're 15, 16 years into the business, and Starbucks buys La Boulange. So they buy our largest customer, and $1 million falls out of the checkbook. And at that point, all these other roasters are popping up. So when you've been in business for 21 years, there's this flow that happens, there's this pivot that happens. You're always looking, you're always wondering what's going to happen. So Starbucks buys La Boulange. We say, oh my God, what are we going to do? I'm 50 years old. I just turned 50. I said, I can't get into retail. Brooke says, we need to get into retail. I said, I can't get up at 4:30 in the morning anymore. Nobody wants to see me dishing coffee. So I said to Deborah, I don't know if I could do retail. I can't get up at 4:30. And she said, boss, we're not going to call you. We're not going to call you. We're going to do it. So we wandered down to Proof Lab Surf Shop. Will and Nate gave us a call and said, we want to do an AirPod brewer down there. So I go down and I meet Will, and he says, you know, I really want to have coffee here. I'd really like to do, you know, a coffee shop. He said, but I don't drink coffee. I said, Will, I don't surf, so let's do something really special together.
Right.
And we did that. And we created this amazing space. What was going to be just a marketing play to just a billboard for Equator, all of a sudden, in me, I wanted to be with our customers. I wanted to be in the community. So we created this incredible place. I went down and I cleaned the tables for 1.5 years, telling our story, because nobody knew who we were, but they knew our customers. They knew Thomas Keller of the French Laundry. They knew Tracy Desjardins. They knew Tyler Florence, but they didn't know Equator, right? So I went down and I told them that story, that we own a farm in Panama, that I've been to Rwanda, that we've adopted this young woman that's gone on to do all these things. And they're like, oh my God, this is an incredible story. And next thing you know, this community was built down there. And the hugging, the inclusiveness, I call it a Katy Perry concert. Whether you're 3 or 83, you feel like you belong there. These are these little snowflakes that we've created that are part of the community. And I'll tell you one quick story, which is very funny. Dave Morin, who's a Mill Valley resident, he said to me, he said, you must be the owner because you're cleaning the mocha off my shoe. And I said, yes, I am. And he said, I want to tell you a story. He said, my wife said to me, Dave, we're moving to Mill Valley. We're going to have a baby. He says, I'm not moving to Mill Valley. There's no good coffee in Mill Valley. She said, no, Equator just opened at the surf shop. And I said, really? He said, so I came, I had your coffee, and I bought the house. And I've been here ever since. And I said, that's so great. And he says, and I love being here. I love what you've done. I love both stores. You've created them to really match the community and have people feel comfortable. Nobody wants to feel uncomfortable. When you walk into Equator, you want to feel like you belong there. You know, where you can bring your dogs, your mother, your aunt, your uncle. It's a place where you feel special.
Right. Well, let's talk about wiping down the tables.
Yeah.
Because I think as a business owner, you get humble really quick about the things like my business is my baby. My third baby, in addition to my 2 other fabulous babies. But I care so much about this thing. I'll wipe the tables. I'll do the strategy. I'll do anything and everything in between. And I think it would be really helpful for women entrepreneurs out there that are doing their own version of wiping down the tables. Of just knowing that women like you are in there, knowing your business. Let's talk about that for a second. I think it's really interesting as an entrepreneur to come in with no ego. And just go for it.
Yeah. No, it's, You know, when you start a business, you do everything. You wear all the hats, you know that yourself,
Right.
you know, whether, you know, I remember when Brooke was roasting coffee, I was going picking up bags of coffee, delivering the coffee, roasting the coffee, grinding the coffee, setting up the equipment, doing all the training, and you never forget that.
Right.
You know, you never forget, and people really admire people that are in their business in a way. You know, people will come by and they'll beep at me and I'm out there sweeping. And my people come over to me and say, you know, boss, let me do the sweeping. And I'm like, no, I want to do the sweeping. It needs to be done.
You care.
And as an entrepreneur, that's what
Right.
you do. And then I'll wipe down the tables. They're like, we'll wipe down the tables. I said, no, I want people to know that I'm the owner because I want to strike up a conversation with them.
Right.
That's how I meet people because I'm so curious about who our customers are. I mean, both of our stores here in Mill Valley have turned into these spaces where people collaborate, they communicate, they're with
Right.
each other, and they talk to me about, wow, every detail you've thought through. I mean, this is my living room. When people
Right.
come into Equator, this is my living room. This is who I am. There's no separation when you're an entrepreneur from Helen Equator and Helen at home. It's absolutely the same, and it's making people feel comfortable.
I think it's really exemplary for women entrepreneurs that are watching this to think about how important it is to stay connected to your customer and to listen to your customer. I know as one of your customers that you deeply care about that engaging relationship. And I think it's a good lesson and reminder for us as entrepreneurs to keep that deep connection.
Well, as entrepreneurs, we're role models, right? We're role models for our staff. When I go in there and they see me, you know, talking to people and giving a baby a sticker or
Right.
clearing a table or refilling someone's coffee or giving them an extra glass of wine or giving them a hug. I remember there was a woman down at Proof Lab Surf Shop. She came in one day and I went and I got my down vest and I put it around her and I just kept cleaning the tables. And she said to her husband, she said, who was that? That just put this down vest on. He says, oh, that's Helen, that's the owner.
Right. Oh, I love that. On Women Doing Cool Stuff, one of the things that we really like to look at is the honesty and vulnerability that it takes to put yourself out there as a woman. When you're creating anything, whether it's a business or writing a book or figuring out what your next chapter is, there is a moment where you have to open yourself up to vulnerability. So with that vulnerability comes bumps on the road and setbacks. And I think that we can have a great conversation as women about getting through those times and acknowledging that those times are real. So can you talk to us a little bit about the perseverance that it takes or the challenges that you've seen along the way?
Right. You know, for me, the challenges were, am I smart enough to do this? You know, am I smart enough? I mean, growing up, I mean, there's no reason I should own a $20 million business. You know, growing up a blue-collar kid, right, and actively being dissuaded to go to college and having to find my own mentor. And I can remember being 17 years old, doing sit-ups in my bedroom, and there was an Izod shirt hanging in the back because I played tennis on the high school team with Wayne Dyer on, Dr. Wayne Dyer, who was my mentor. I had to find a mentor. I read every book he ever wrote. I listened to every tape, which is all about
amazing.
Sky's the limit, right? And that's where I heard that message, that sky was the limit. And whatever you focused on would expand. So I thought, I want to go to California. I want to start a business. And I was confident enough. You know, I grew up as an athlete, right? So I was the kid where I had 10 boys waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs, right?
Right.
And then when it would snow, I had 10 girls waiting for me at the bottom of the stairs because they knew if any of the boys threw snowballs at them, I was going to throw a rifle across and they'd all scurry.
I love that.
So I was always a leader, even as a little child. You know, I was always like the one that was leading the pack, right? And I think when you have, you know, being athletic was really, really helpful to sort of have that. And so the struggle was, am I smart enough? Am I good enough? But as you go along, and one of the things that I've learned, and I've read Inc. magazine and Fast Company every day, every month for 21 years, because they're little mini case studies, because you're always, as a woman, for me personally, am I good enough? Can I do this?
Right.
Will it be received? And then you get all these little goalposts on the way forward. But it's really about taking that step, taking action and moving forward, whether you write it down in a journal or you just make that action play. And I have really thought about this. Every day, I think about what I want to do. I think about what's my objective. I want to build this company. I want to create this platform. I want to have options in my life. And it's like sitting here right now thinking, how do I get to New York right now? Well, you get in the car, you start driving.
Right, right.
You know, you set your objective and your intention. And you get in the car and you
Yes.
start driving, and you will get there.
In spite of fear, in spite of setbacks,
In spite of all of it.
of
You know what?
insecurities.
This is a crazy thing, but here's how I think about it. And it's going to sound a little dim and dreary, but we're all going to be dead.
I think about that all the time.
Yeah, and
I
we're
think
only
about it all
on
the
this
time.
earth for a short period of time.
Right, so do
So
it.
make the mistakes, fall down,
Yes.
get up. Who cares? It doesn't matter.
Right.
It doesn't matter. And surround yourself with people that support you and love you and give you the truth. I want the truth. And I was in a meeting recently with my CFO, and he said, you know what I love about you, Helen? You're very coachable. Mm-hmm. And I said, thank you, Jeff. Coming from you, someone I really, really admire, Stanford background, CPA, someone that we brought into the company, for you to say to me that I'm coachable, he said, because you don't care if you're wrong or you're right, you want the answer.
You're not afraid to ask the question.
I'm not afraid to ask the question, and I think that's
Right.
one of the reasons why we've been successful.
One of the things I think we can all relate to as women entrepreneurs or women in business is the unexpected.
Yeah.
So I love stories about surprises or things that you weren't expecting, things that have surprised you along the way, or things that weren't part of the plan. Mm-hmm. You want to talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
I think, when I think about it, I think the thing that surprised me the most, in any business, it's people, product, and process. And I'm the people, Brooke is the product, and Maureen is the process. So about 9 years ago, I said to Brooke, you've been having all the fun going to the farmers and traveling all over the world. I said, I would like to go to Origin and, really have that experience. And I said, what's the most extreme place I can go? And there was a tour to Rwanda.
Wow.
So I get goosebumps when I think about traveling to Rwanda, and this was 11 years ago. So I went with a bunch of students from George Washington University. And I get there, and this young woman is handling our tour, and her name is Alice Musabende. And we travel through, and we visit all the memorials, all the genocide memorials, and I'm sitting with her, and I've learned that she lost her parents, her grandparents, her two brothers, and her sister to the genocide. They were murdered. And the only reason why that she survived is because she was running an errand that afternoon. Wow. And so spending time with her, and then at the very end, she said to me, we were loading up into the van to go to the airport, and she said to me, I just got a scholarship for Ottawa, and I've never, I think it's cold there. And I said, it's very cold in Ottawa. She said, could you send me a coat? I said, I will send you a coat. I will send you mittens. I said, I will be that person that you call, because we all want to call our mother if we're lucky enough to have one. Right. I will be that person that you call when you're in Ottawa when you need something. So fast forward, Alice graduated from Ottawa University as a journalism major. Brooke and I went up and stood in for her parents.
That's amazing.
We brought her here. And all through this time, I'm thinking, you can't be in specialty coffee and not be transformed on some level. And this is the business that we chose. So it's beyond just roasting coffee, grinding coffee, right. Brewing coffee. Here's this young woman who took us through the fields of Rwanda, and we picked cherries together. And the woman that I'm standing next to, the other woman, her husband was murdered by her husband. But they live together, and they have to support each other. These women have had to come together, because if I have a leak in my roof, I need you to help me.
Right.
Even though we have gone through this terrible thing. So I learned so much about the spirit of survival and going forward in life after something that's so horrific occurred. And I came home and I said to Brooke, you know what? We need to buy more coffee from Rwanda. We need to do our small piece of buying that coffee, because if it helps keep the tensions down there and we can bring in this coffee and tell that story of Alice, I want to tell that story.
I think it's incredible, and I think it's such an opportunity for women that are watching this, or women everywhere, to realize that when you create something in the world, when you create a business or whatever it is, that you have an opportunity to create massive change,
yes.
which your story indicates.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I so often I hear women say that they're not ready, they haven't quite perfected whatever it is they're working on. I mean, put it out there and go for it, so that you can have these life experiences and have an opportunity to change people's lives.
Right. You can always make an impact, and it's about impact. I mean, we're in this business not to sell coffee. What we're doing, it's about impact for us.
Right.
It's about health insurance for our employees, about profit sharing. It's about microcredit loans. Alice right now is just got an opportunity to go to Cambridge in England to get her PhD. This young woman who survived the genocide.
That's incredible.
And it's just, her story inspires me every day. So if the road gets tough, Starbucks buys La Boulange, if we lose an account, we get an account, someone calls in sick, something doesn't happen, I think about Alice. That's all I ever think about is Alice. So you have to go out and you have to go out and find your inspiration because it's all around you. You have to pick up your head. You know, you're in the flow of the water, but throw yourself up on the rocks and just take a look and see who's going by. And that's what the inspiration comes in. It's being curious. It's putting yourself out there. If you're not uncomfortable, then you're not going to be an entrepreneur. You got to be used to being uncomfortable.
Right. And being uncomfortable is such a state of change. It's a state of creating, a state of getting to the what's next. You can't do it if you're in this kind of passive place.
No.
It's beautiful.
Passive is not a word that comes up when you're an entrepreneur. So I really, you know, I only care about selling coffee for one reason, and that's really to create an impact.
Right.
And if I hadn't decided that I wanted to go take that trip, who changed my life, that changed my life. You know, being in coffee and being on the side of selling coffee and putting in espresso equipment, brewing equipment, having a sales team, thinking about projections and strategy.
Right.
And then next thing you know, you find yourself in the middle of Kigali. In the middle of Kigali, and there's trucks going by with these guys in suits that are all pink. 25 murderers just drove by. And you're like, oh my God, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Right.
And now, with my team, they are so inspired by that. So I said to them, Devora and Alexander, who works for me, my director of retail and my director of wholesale, there was an opportunity to go to Rwanda. So I called them up 3 months ago, and they're both in the car, and I said, I have something to tell you both. I said, guess what? You're going to go to Rwanda. You're going to train these new baristas in Kigali, in downtown Rwanda. You're going to train them how to make coffee. And they both burst into tears. We're both going, because they're both best friends. I said, you're absolutely both going.
That's amazing.
And they went there, and they train these people, and we buy the coffee from Rwanda and Niemba. It's a women-owned cooperative. It's a benefit corporation cooperative. And you see Devora and Alex out in the fields singing with the women, picking the cherries with the women, bringing it back, showing these young baristas how to brew coffee. So I just said to Devora the other day, she said to me, you know, in Rwanda, you can make your own last name whatever you want. So Danny Coffee Lover, right? His name is Danny Coffee Lover, and he's a barista. So Devora said to us, can we bring him here? He can stay at my house, but he wants to work at our cafes. I said, absolutely. That's impact.
See, and this is the thing, is that I feel like if there was one theme for this, it's that as women, when you go out and create something in the world, you have no idea the reach of your impact.
Huge.
I mean, I guess that comes back to the surprises. Like, how could you have ever guessed 21 years ago, when you're starting in your garage, that you're going to have an impact on women in Rwanda, women all over the world, the women that work for you, the many people that work for the business. I'm inspired because when you're inspired, you're in spirit. Because in business, you just go so far. But if you just open that gate and look over and see all the other things that you can make an impact with, that's where the grace comes in. That's the flow. Right. And not being afraid to open that gate. Just go walk through it. Have that experience. That's being alive.
That's being alive. Did I know that I would love retail so much? No idea. I didn't want to do retail. I love it. I can't wait to get there. I can't wait to talk to people. I can't wait to put a sticker on that little kid's cart. He's like, a sticker. It's just making people's day, you know, in a world that if you can give them a hug, there's something that happens when you hug people.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
It's an exchange of warmth, consideration, collaboration, cooperation, and knowing that you have a champion. Women have champions, and we are their champions, fellow women.
That's what I'm amazed at, the contagiousness of women supporting women.
Yeah,
I feel like once you open the door and you create that space like you've done in your cafes and what I've done here, once you say that this is a safe place to be yourself, to use your voice, I think that people come out in droves. We're all craving that connection.
Yeah, we are.
And I think it's our natural resting place as women to support each other.
I think so.
Tapped into that.
100%.
I know how hard you work, and we talked about, wiping down the tables and doing every aspect of the business. One of the things that I think would be really useful for other entrepreneurs out there is to talk about how you take care of yourself. And I know, you have big vision and big dreams for what you're building, and you've sustained this over 21 years.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about how you care for yourself, how you stay the course.
Well, I wish I could say that I'm really good at that, taking care of myself, and I do have a ton of energy, and I save it for the business, and then when I get home, I collapse onto the couch.
Me too.
And I get extremely quiet, but you have to surround yourself with people who care about you, who want you to eat well and take rest. And what did Arianna Huffington said? You need to sleep your way to the top of success. And she really inspired me with the new book that she came out with, which is about sleep. And I've been trying to take more naps because when you're an entrepreneur, I don't know if it's when you're a woman, but when you're an entrepreneur, you just feel like I can just make one more call. I can just talk to one more person. When I wake up here on Saturday and Sunday mornings, I feel like if I just get to the store at this hour, I can make an impact and see these people, see what I can do here. So it's very hard to shut off, you know? So the way I try to take care of myself is eating well and taking naps. I've just started taking naps because probably about 8 months ago, I had the spiritual 2x4. I was running around. I was ready to leave on vacation to get some rest, and I ran out of my back door, and I slipped, and I crushed my rib. I broke my rib. And I thought, oh my God, it kept me into the house for a week. I was like a caged animal. And I had to do this photo shoot down at the surf shop. So I get down to the surf shop. Next thing I've got this thing on my forehead. And I go to my acupuncturist. She says, you've got shingles. I said, that's impossible. I couldn't get shingles. I'm not stressed. She's like, you've got shingles and you need to take care of it and you need to take care of yourself. So I think we all get a wake-up call, and that wake-up call was fairly recent, so I've made some changes. And so I'm resting a little bit more, napping a little bit more, listening a little bit more to the people that have surrounded me. I always say to Brooke, I said, I never want to be Elvis. I want people to tell me the truth and tell me that you're pushing too hard, you're doing too much. And that care about me, right? Because I just won't stop until I hit the wall and fall off, and I'm no good for anybody else. So I wish I could do better at it. A lot of women, I read Joan's book, and boy, Joan from Gymboree, and she really pushed herself off a cliff, And she said to me, she hugged me one day, and she says, I see you. I don't want this to happen to you. And I hadn't read the book yet, so I said, what's going to happen to me?
But the idea
is you have to take, I don't have children. I might have 90 employees, but the women I admire the most are the women who have a spouse, have several children, and do it all. It's a very, very hard thing to do. So I'm inspired by them, but we all have to take a break and take care of ourselves because we can go right off the cliff, for sure.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. We do, and I think what's interesting that I've run into since I started the Hivery that's different than other work that I had done in the past is that I love it so much.
Yeah.
So I can work and work and work and work and not even really notice because I love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so it's an interesting barometer where you have to turn it off in a different way. You have to slow yourself down in a different way.
Well, if you're lucky enough, and this is not work for me, what I do. This is my life. There's no differentiation between work and life. One of my childhood friends said to me on the phone, I called her, she's from Boston, she said, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going down to the stores. I have a meeting. I have several things I'm going to do. She says, you work a lot. I said, no, I live a lot.
See, that's
this
the best we can ask
is my life, not my work.
One question that we love to ask our guests here is, if you could wish for one thing for women of the world, what would it be?
Stand in your power.
Yes.
Stand in it.
Yes, do that.
Every young woman that I shake their hand and they don't give me that firm handshake, I stop no matter where I am and I say, hold my hand, shake it, squeeze it, stand in it, and be that powerful, because you are. Stand in your power. I love that. Because so many young women, they're so shy, especially because I'm tall, and I just say, no, shake my hand, hold my hand.
Right.
Hold it. And they hold it. And I love that.
I love that too.
Stand in your power. That's what I would want for all women. It can be done. It's not easy, but stand in it.
Yes, enough said. Stand in your power.
Stand in it.
One of the things that we focus on at the Hivery a lot is not just the concept of inspiration, but really turning inspiration into action.
Right.
So if there was one word that can embody action for you,
Right.
and that you would like to share with other women that are creating things out there, what would that one action word be?
Well, I love the word action. That's number one. You have to
Yes.
take some type of action.
Yes.
The action that I always took was writing it down.
Right.
If you write it down, somehow it stays in your head and you can see it. So the action of writing it down, the action of focusing only on what you want to have happen, not what you don't want to have happen.
Right. That's important.
It's so important because you have to stand quarter at your thoughts. Thoughts are your reality, and you can create that. You never get in life what you deserve. You only get in life what you expect. You have to raise your expectations. You have to take that action. And whether that's filing a fictitious business name statement, that's whether getting a logo, that's whether writing it down.
It's just one foot in front of
You
the other.
just have to take action. Action is the word. And I call it massive action.
I
You
couldn't
have to
agree
take
more.
massive action.
I love that. Did you hear that, everybody? Take massive action.
Take massive
That's
action.
Fantastic.
It's one foot in front of the other. And it's
Fantastic.
amazing how far you go.
So Helen is such an inspiration to me, and I'm very grateful that you would spend this time with us. So thank you.
Grace, you're an inspiration to me. The moment I met you, I saw the spirit that you brought to this place called the Hivery, where all these incredible women could come and collaborate, elbow to elbow, eye to eye. Instead of us all being up in our silos, we come together.
Right. We can do anything together.
And
as
it's
women.
amazing.
Yeah,
So
thank
thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you for being part of it.
Stand in your power.
Yes, stand in your power.
Okay.
I